Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Drag Racing Friends. I am here with my buddy, Barrett Green, who is the man with the beard on the other side of Texas. And at the south side, all the way down by the Gulf, we got Flaco in the house, who's going to talk to us about some grudge racing versus class racing. There's plenty of talk about this week and a lot of opinions. Barrett, you're a no prep guy. You have been for a long time. I'm kind of a prep guy. I'm kind of a class racer guy. I'm kind of a grudge guy because I grew up with NHRA drag racing, but I street raced a lot. So obviously there wasn't really any prep there. The world has gotten so divided on all these subjects though. I mean, and it's gotten crazy. So grudge racing versus class racing. What do you think?
I think it depends on who you are. I mean, I think there's definitely...
Way to be non-committal, my friend.
Way to be
non-committal.
You got a long way to go. There's a place to put both of those guys. For me, I tend to prefer class racing because it tends to go along at a steady pace. You go to a grudge deal, these guys don't know how to take a tree. Their shit box is going to blow up like 20 foot down the track. Like, it just, it's a whole bunch. It's 20 minutes worth of bullshit for a, X amount of seconds pass, because we can't talk about times in grudge racing.
Oh, dude. Okay, but that's a whole other subject. Okay, so I agree with you on the one hand, because here's the thing. I am all over the smack talk. I am all over negotiating and doing all that stuff, right? But yeah. The most frustrating thing to me is the guys that talk shit for 20 minutes and then, like you said, 4 feet out, their shit blows up. Or number two, the guy that goes out there and pedals the thing 16 times. He's already an eighth of a mile behind and then proceeds to wad the damn thing up.
Yeah.
Or almost as bad, no, definitely worse, is when the guy actually somehow doesn't hit anything. He crashes the thing 47 times. He just doesn't hit nothing. Then everybody gets out online and goes, oh my God, what a save. There was no save. The guy's too stupid to know that the skinny pedal on the right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The skinny pedal on the right works both ways. So I'm sorry, but when it's already clear that you have lost, dude, lift off the throttle for the love of God. Because I got to tell you, if I'm the guy in the next pair behind you, you better not come to the starting line because I will beat your ass. I'm pissed. That is the worst.
Yeah. I mean, at its element, I love grudge racing because there's, whether it's class or whatever, I mean, you're going into the beams, and you're like, man, I got to make it through the next 3 rounds and then I'm going to be in some money. Grudge racing, you're like, I don't know if I'll be able to make it. Like, I had bet, we talked earlier about Carl Scott and a guy named Dave Hildebrand, the boogeyman, his pro mod car. I bet $10,000. We had patched it up between him and a couple other people against Scott or Dave Hildebrand. I bet with Carl Scott. They were the first pair down this track, and I ended up being in a lot more than I was probably about 30. I was in the pot for about 3,500, and somebody gave me another. Gene, North Star Gene, gave me 1,000 on the way up and said, bet him in the driver's meeting. So I had $4,500 on this deal. Carl Scott leaves. I'm like, we getting paid. And it rattles the tires so hard it turns off. And my heart went to the bottom of my feet. I went, oh my God. And Hildebrand crosses in front of him and proceeds to total his car. But hey, he crossed, he's out. Carl Scott wins. And, I was like, holy shit, I just won like 20 grand. Like, they're finna give me $20,000. Like, oh my God, that kind of stuff, like right there, that's what makes grudge racing, going in. Flaco knows going in on the break, all of a sudden, you got 5 G's on the line. You don't know what's going to happen. It's one and done. That's it.
Yeah, but here's the problem with it. So, because I agree, I love all of the parts of it, except it's like old muscle cars. And you know me, I'm an old car guy, right? I don't own anything new. The newest thing we own is a 94 S10 Blazer back half LS thing. So everything else I own is 60s cars, okay? And I firmly believe they are superior in every way. But, you know, we've all romanticized that the old cars are better. My 70 Cuda is way faster than a new Hellcat, right? Well, it's not, right? A new Hellcat is definitely faster than your Cuda was out of the factory, right? It just is. But we've romanticized this to where it's this beautiful, wonderful thing. Well, it's the same way with street racing and grudge racing, right? The excitement part of it is so awesome that that's what we choose to remember. It's sort of like the chick that you dated in high school that was hotter than hell and really talented. And you're like, man, that girl was the greatest, because right now all you can remember is all the good things. You don't remember how crazy she was or any of the bad stuff because you romanticized into making it this great thing. Grudge racing is a little bit the same way, right? At the end of the weekend, we always remember the fun stories and the winning the big money and the negotiation and the argument and all that stuff, because we mentally block out the
bullshit,
dumb crap that always seems to happen. You know what I mean? But, and with that said, I mean, I'm all over both of them. I love it. Whatever anybody wants to do, as long as they're drag racing, that's great. Where I have a problem, where I really just get frustrated, and I know I'm not alone, and I know Flaco is going to have a major opinion on this, is when somebody wants to race more than one series with their car, right? If you grudge race, you may not have a time slip ever, you know? So you can't go race at another thing. That is horrible. It means that you got to have a grudge car and a class car. And that part of it, I just don't agree with. And I know a lot of guys who are really good friends of mine that I will hug it out with that don't agree with me. And then I know that there are guys that totally agree with me. And Flaco, you're a guy that is going class racing, but who has been doing grudge racing for a long time. So you know the quandary that is time slip versus no time slip. What do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of bullshit, though, because, you know, like you guys said, I mean, you go and, run some no time stuff for a long time, and then you end up in the final with the guy that runs, you know, X number, and you go out there and you put a hurting on him, or just whatever the case is, though, right off, even if you're dead even at the stripe, though, so that right there will just get everybody like, well, this guy runs this, or add a 10th or take a 10th away. So it kind of gives everybody,
right,
you know, knowledge of more or less what you run, though. I don't like it. We still do it because, honestly, you know, I see that sometimes they want to do a car count. I really don't give a shit about it, you know, but
it's more money you win at the end of the night.
A lot of other people back home, though, when you come back and they done seen that you run this guy and you beat him, and then, well, we saw this guy ran this much, and then you come back home and the guys that are either slower, which are the ones that are going to bitch, basically, well, they're going to complain about it.
Right.
So,
I know, and that's the quandary that you get into, you know, and I get it. I absolutely do. And I can see both sides of the coin, but man, as a racer, it's annoying when all you want to do is go race, you know?
Of course. I've done all kinds of racing. We've done no prep, grudge, and, you know, even some time racing. But I do like all of them. Nowadays, I want to go as fast as my vehicle, you know, can allow me to. As you can see, we haven't really done much no prep. I guess I did it so long, though, that it just kind of got burnt out on us. So we switched over to the radio stuff. And I do think that eventually we're going to end up running a vehicle that we've got on some time events. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Well, I will say that one thing that because we got to get into our insanity segment. So one thing that grudge guys do better than anybody else, and I don't think anybody on earth can argue with this, is celebrate the win. Like, these dudes lose their ever-loving minds, okay? And with good reason. I mean, sometimes there's tens of thousands of dollars on the line. I know guys that go to these races and bring their car, and they only bring their car so they can say they're racing, because the truth is they usually walk home with 10, 20, 30 grand that they've made on the starting line betting. So I can understand it. But so everybody, you guys know that the link for the video is in the chat here. Let's all watch this thing real quick, and we'll see what this celebration is all about. I love the strong music, the negotiation going on.
That was so I'll give you some backstory after we talk about this video.
200 grand on the line. Man, that's a lot.
It definitely is a lot.
The best part about this
So
is
how many people are
everyone's
putting
watching.
in the money for this one? You know what I mean? Like, how many people are putting in to make it up for a $200,000 purse?
No, I'd say there's got to be at least 50
For-
people minimum.
Yeah.
And on
There-
JR
there's
Gray,
going to be quite a
just
bit of
the-
people.
yeah, the Black Mustang, he's got the biggest chunk of it. He lost the race, and he was willing to lock in his losings, like the total pot, again. He's like, I got that much
Wow.
on property in cash, run it back. And they're like, no,
Wow.
you're going to have to eat that one for a little while. So that was at No Mercy. I was out there announcing, helping out Loans and Lee and everybody. And we had to, there was a representative from each camp came up and watched us set up the screen to where there was no time shown anywhere on the computer, anywhere in the tower, other than the
Really?
person, other than the person watching, running the computer system. That's the only,
Right.
when they set it up to no time, that's the only place it shows, and that's how it goes. You can't hide that. But as far as the announcer screen, it does nothing. You just get a winner blink. That's all you get.
Wow. That protective over the ETs.
Yeah, and they counted it out in the tower. They put 100 in each side, and that was it. And
The money was there in the tower.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, it
God.
was real deal. You see some of the stuff where they talk about, oh, we bet 50, or I let off the brake for 40 G's. Like, nah, that I've seen that stack. That that let me get my hand right here. That's about $10,000. That wasn't 40.
Yeah.
We're talking
So
duffel
what
bags.
So, I mean, all three of us here have won races. We've all been in, celebrations on the starting line or at the finish line or whatever. Personally, I am the fat guy that starts jumping up and down. I can't help myself, which is horrible look for a fat guy. Like, no fat guy should jump up and down. I mean, Barrett and I are not the guys who should be jumping up and down, but I am jumping up and down. When we won the 10K drag shootout last year, I'm jumping up and down, and Biggin picks me up. I mean, that poor bastard, his back still hurts. And I mean, that I lose my mind. I'm screaming and yelling and jumping up and down and all that. What about you guys? What do you got to do to have the good celebration?
I'm a runner. I can't even get it on the screen. I'm a runner.
Oh, you're a runner with your arm in the air, running around like I want.
No,
okay, gotcha. How about you, Flaco?
Actually, I've always told my guys, back in the start line, it doesn't matter how many wins how many races we win or whatever. Even if we win a really, really big pot, I'm like, just go ahead and act like we've done it a million times. And if you can see all my guys in every video, whenever we do win a race, they'll just kind of fist bump a little bit. They'll turn around. They'll walk back. We can always celebrate back ourselves in our trailer. I'm the same way inside the vehicle. If I know I won, I'll just give like a inside like a hell yeah, and that's it. come back off, get off the vehicle.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate back in the pits or something though. But we usually try
How about
to
when you lose? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's a
do the
good
same
one, Barrett.
thing.
I was.
We turn around,
He
we
knows
go
why I'm
off.
asking. He knows why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did it feel to turn that red light on against Bad Niner, you son of a
Man,
bitch?
actually, I did see it. As whenever I let go of the button, I did see it. And right before I went into second gear, I'm like, shit. I already knew. But I stayed in it, though, regardless.
Yeah.
But I knew from
Yeah.
the
Oh,
get-go
yeah.
that I
I
had
mean,
already
it's
lost.
too late now, but
I know. We lost by, I think it was 005 red. And
yeah.
Oh,
we
that's
did
so
a couple
hard.
changes, though. We changed the button to the steering wheel, a couple different things. And I had told David, I'm like, man, I need to slow this thing down, though. I'm like, I'm at 001, 003s. I'm like, I'm cutting it too close. And sure enough, once it came in the final, I let go of the button just like every other run. When the negative 05, 005 red. It just sucked.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Flacco's getting me
And
paid
that
like
could
an
be that
ATM
you
machine.
were. Well, and you could have been just very slightly in deeper, staged, or just the adrenaline's up a little bit and you let go of it that much quicker.
Yeah.
That's so close, like you said.
Oh yeah.
That's the risky part. But for those audience members that may be out there that are not familiar with Sergio Flaco Gonzalez, tell us a little bit about how it is that you got into no time racing and what it is that you love about it.
Well, the no time racing, I like it because, just like any other heads up racing, it's just just give it all you got, and whoever gets to the other end first wins. Though, of course, we always try to better ourselves and better our race program. Just to try to get faster. We kind of and just like everybody else, you kind of know who the fast guys are and what they're running. You might not know exactly, but you know the ballpark where they at. So what we try to do is we try to test. We'll test the wheels out of this thing, and just to better everything. And it seems to be paying off. Though we've been doing really good. We've been really consistent. And but like I said, we put a new motor in it, and within a month we had over 50 runs on that thing in a month. Like I said, we'll test the wheels out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where did you get started in racing?
Well, that's probably about maybe 30 years ago, give or take. My dad had he bought a 69 Camaro. He had somebody else always run it, and I was about 8 years old. So I would always go to the track with him, and ever since from there, though, I've been hooked on it. As soon as I started to race, I was about, I'd say maybe 15 or so. Started racing a Mustang that he gave me, and it all went downhill from there. Started working on cars and just, everything to what it is now. And I remember back then, though,
and what
years ago, like the vehicles that we got now, I would see them back then, not the same caliber, but kind of similar. Be like, God damn, I don't ever see myself owning a chassis that's, 40, 50,000 or whatever. Now, it just comes natural. Things changed over the years a lot.
So
now you can't help it, right?
Yeah, the tune by Flaco, you got a truck down in the valley or Pasadena or whatever, that was the thing. If you had a new body, whatever they call them, like the 99 and up trucks, like if you seen that across the windshield, you're like, oh, I don't know about this. When were you tuning on those trucks? Did you realize, like, damn, this is really taking, like, this is a thing?
Well, I started tuning right around 05. Somewhere about 05, I started tuning, and it just kind of progressed from there. I had some race trucks, but the EFI tuning really started off from there for me. And it just progressed to what it is today, though. I mainly work on all LS stuff. That's what I've done for the past
Mm-hmm.
15 years, you know.
And when you look at where the no time again grudge racing scene has gone over the last really the last 3 or 4 years has been such a huge rise as far as the public exposure to it. Have you seen the LS engine craze really taking over, or is it still a pretty good mix between big block and LS and small block and everything else?
No, there's still a pretty good mix. And to be honest, the fastest guys out there are not going to be LS. So there's only a handful of LS that run so much, though. And I consider myself having, one of them. Because you still see the big block. And the big block and the small block Fords, I mean, they've been around for so long, though, that you really don't see an LS making, say, 3,000 or more horsepower. There's not going to be a whole lot of them. They're all mainly going to be around the 2,000 horsepower range, somewhere around there. But there's still going to be a handful of a motor that that'll be LS and can make 3,000 or more horsepower. But it's going to be a completely different build. All Bennett stuff. Nothing cast like what a big block or a small block Ford can do though. But I think it's
So what is go ahead.
Look, I think you're going to be able to see a lot more as this time goes by though. I mean, every year there's better and better parts that are being made for the LS though, and I know they've been out for a long time, for enough years, but just like the big block stuff and the small block Ford, I mean, they've been around forever. So,
still coming out with new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there is a good
yeah.
mix of them. But as far as the real big power stuff, you really don't see an LS though that makes. Like I said, there's only going to be a handful. I think one of the fastest guys is what's his name, David Atkins. He's got an LS, all Barrett. He's one of the fastest ones with LS stuff.
Freebird
motor. He's been, I think, 370s or something like that. I think 360s or 370s.
Yeah, Pro 275 car.
Yeah.
So who do you consider to be the heaviest hitters in the no time scene right now?
From where? From which area?
Anywhere. I mean, if you had to just if you were putting your dream team together, of 4 or 5 top guys from all over the country, who would they be?
XC75 guys, I think the heavy hitters would be definitely Diablo car. That is a super fast car. I consider him one of the deadliest ones on a 275. I mean, he's already been a 360 something. Marty Stinnett has been really fast on a 275 as well. I know now. What's his name? Mark Mickey went at 80. I think 80 flat in his car with some crazy amount of mile an hour though. He went, I think, like 215 or something like that. I mean, that's some crazy mile per hour. And there's a couple that have been in the 380s. There's about 5 of them, I think, that have been 380s or better. So those are your top dogs.
Yeah,
but these are all guys that now have a time slip in their car. Like, everybody can see what the time is.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on that? On guys turning on the clocks in a car that they may go run a no time event on? I mean, should it be allowed or not?
Well, I don't see a problem. But at the same time, if it's in the same, the problem is whenever you run an event, say like Georgia, that we're running no time, and then you've got guys running in my same class that 2 rounds ago ran an LDR or XC75, which I'm not really worried. But same day, same track conditions, same everything, and they come and run no time. So that right there does become a problem. Now, if it's on a different day, well, then no big deal because the track prep's going to be different, the temperatures are going to be different, and just everything will be different. But at the same day, I do see a problem because he just came back from 2 rounds ago and ran X number, and then comes and runs no time. Well, then that's not fair.
I agree on. I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with you on that one. I think that if personally, if I was running in LDR, let's use that as the example, right? Because we run, the tooth jerker dart in LDR with Lyle Barnett driving, and I've been lucky enough to help out with that car some, and they're great people. Let's say we were running the dart in LDR. It has a very specific set of rules that it has to follow to run in LDR. If we were going to go run a no time event the next week, we would take a bunch of weight out of the car, maybe change some other things. So I don't understand why anybody would run a class with their car and then run it in identical trim in no time. So to me, they don't matter at all because you're going to be making changes. It's a different weekend. But like you said, at the same event, no way. That I do believe in, but otherwise I say you should be able to run both of them.
They found out the hard way, but it's because they thought that some of them guys are pretty slow in that small block boost class. They said, we got the car or whatever, and then next thing you know, their shit's the one that's getting packed in the trailer. It ain't Flaco. They taking winter circle picture. Them dudes didn't even show up for the runner-up picture.
I know.
Yeah, I do have a problem with that as far as the same race, same race, same weekend and stuff though. Because I mean, on a different, if it's in a different weekend, well then it's gonna the track conditions, everything will. You can go from running a tenth to a tenth and a half slower on a different track just because of the way the conditions are. But absolutely. 2 rounds ago, well, you just leave your same tune-up, come back around, or maybe put a little bit more because you've already went down the track before the no time, so you already have more data. I mean, I did ask Willie Dog about it, and they were just like, well, it's for car count, and that's the way these guys are. I'm like, where I come from, if you do that, I can't run for a full year. So I'm like, it's fine with me. I'm like, I don't care, but it was kind of like disappointing that they did that, but we still ran with it. Did it affect us? Because of that final, and when we ran that final car, no, it really didn't. But you still have some people that when you show up at another race that they're like, well, this guy, blah blah blah, but I mean, for the most part, people run into no time in a different race. I don't care. We can run them. We're just down to race. We don't care.
Barrett and I have talked about, this as we were, getting excited for this episode. And, because of the varying backgrounds of people that are at a drag race, some people say that class racing is harder. Some people say that grudge or no time racing is harder. What makes it hard to do no time racing?
In reality, to us, not really anything though. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We run our same program as far as everything that we do with if it were time racing or no time racing. Now, if you're doing time racing, in reality, you put more strain on everything because by the time you go into first round of eliminations, you done made 6 hits already. On a no time deal, usually it's off the trailer, so basically you save your shit. You don't have to put as many runs in it. Like if you go to Georgia,
but doesn't that make it harder to have to run off the trailer with no idea?
Yeah, I mean, usually the no time stuff, it's gonna have maybe one hit, one test hit before, and then you go into eliminations. Shit, you go to Georgia, you make 37 hits before you go into first round.
Yeah.
You ain't
It's
kidding,
4
dude.
hours.
Yeah, for
Oh
somebody
my God.
Yeah.
for somebody that's got 50
And
hits.
Duck will run a pair in the rain because
Oh,
he ain't
yeah.
giving you your money back if anybody got to go down the racetrack.
Or-
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, when you
That's
guys
hilarious.
are 5 minutes from HMP.
Yeah, we're about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. So, like I said,
Yeah,
we do
so
run.
when you're
Oh yeah,
testing
we don't-
y'all, off the trailer, let's do it.
Yeah, of course. I
Right.
mean, we've got plenty of tune-ups, but and we don't really mind. I mean, shit, we if we go to Georgia like last time, I mean, we were testing since Tuesday. I mean, and we tested the wheels off that thing. It was a brand new motor, and everything was brand new combination. And we tested the wheels. We did have a lot of trouble with the truck, though. We were fighting some fuel pressure issues. We kept on modifying the fuel cell, just trying to make it where it doesn't lose fuel pressure. And then once we fixed it, the thing wanted to go and flip over backwards. So we have to fight that, not make a big change or you knock the tires off. So we finally we made it through though. After Georgia, we finally had some time to go do some testing, and we addressed all those issues to keep the nose down and just stuff like that. But it's fun, like I said. I mean,
You was thankful for parking in the Kenny Hanna pits.
Oh yeah, but we will run just to run it. I mean, we don't care. We will run anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. I mean, if we got oil pressure, we'll line up. We don't care whether it be a class car or not.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now you are going class racing, right?
Oh, everybody got their hats on. Put my hat on.
Yeah,
Look at that. Look who has joined the
My
party,
bad.
Barrett.
What's going on, y'all?
Oh,
What? RM2, we matching.
I know. Look at you.
So I knew I was going to catch that. I didn't. It was completely just random that I put it on.
Oh, sure. Well, come on, Barrett. Introduce our next guest.
Okay, so my man, the wheel man, whether it's Big Bowser or Rubber Ducky, a couple other cars. I mean,
Right.
he definitely made a name for himself. DJ McCain in the house.
What's going on? What's going on?
Dynamic duo is what I've said many times on the microphone. When you got somebody as confident holding the steering wheel as DJ McCain, and you got somebody else, Ryan McCain, calling the tune-ups, I mean, that's deadly. They, like Flaco was talking about testing at Georgia, they loaded that thing out the box, and they was on the struggle bus for reals.
Oh, yeah.
But, they figured it out, 14-foot tall throttle bracket and all, and that's what they do. They come to win, under-motored, under-chassised, a lot of stuff stacked against them, and they come out on top, They showed.
Yeah, we got. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say they showed up. With obviously Bowser is their main focus. No Mercy. Next thing you know, they're behind Nemesis going into the final round against JR Gray. Like they're that committed to it. As soon as Bowser's out, they're hey, we're on this deal. Next weekend, they're knocking off JR Gray for another $10,000. Because he felt like, oh, that was a fluke that I lost. They live it, breathe it, racing, grudge racing. It's all about it.
Well, we're glad to have you, DJ, for sure, dude. Thank you for joining us today and joining us in our no time versus class racing and all of that fiasco. Everybody has such strong opinions on the subject, and you've been controversial yourself because you allow class cars to run in your no time series.
Yeah, I've been a part of a lot of different types of racing. When I first started driving, my dad would take me testing at bracket events. That's how I kind of started learning to cut the tree and things of that nature. I mean, I've been on Street Outlaws and ran against those guys in the street. We do a lot of no-time shootouts, which is sometimes people don't allow class cars. Some of them do allow class cars. I've grudge raced Bowser against a car that ran extra 75. We're thinking about coming out with an extra 75 car as well as an LDR car. So, I mean, I've kind of been a part of both worlds, so to speak. But Yeah, I mean, you got to be versatile, one way or another. I like all types of racing, but yeah, I mainly do the no time and grudge stuff for the most part.
And why? Why? What is it about No Time and Grudge that has really been appealing to you and been the thing you've loved so much?
I mean, you don't have so many rules. It's kind of just now. It's becoming more. They're having more rules in some of the small block nitrous shootouts and things.
Right.
But for the most part, it's kind of just get your like stop bore space, small block for the stuff kind of do with Bowser, a 275 tire, a stock style front suspension, and get busy. You don't have to worry about everybody weighing the cars and all that. So there's pluses and minuses to all of that. I heard there's a lot of arguing and a lot of stuff about rules going on in the class world too. So I mean, I don't know if it's better or worse to do the no time stuff we do.
I think
I will tell you that it doesn't matter. Drag racers will find something to bitch about. So, if it's a class, then somebody's bitching that this turbo is not fair because, the Borgie is this compared to the Precision is that or whatever. And there is always that kind of deal. And somebody will say that you got a cheated up plate or something. So I don't think it matters. I think people are going to bitch and moan about the rules no matter what the class is, no matter what the series is. But I think that it's just more colorful in the grudge and no time world because it's all part of the negotiation. It's part of the bet. It's part of the entire experience. And I think that's one of the things that people love about watching it and about being on the starting line and seeing it. Because quite frankly, if all the negotiations for a no time or a grudge race happened in the trailer and you just walked up and pulled the cars up to the line and nobody said a word, nobody talked any shit, nobody did anything, and you just pulled them up, lined them up, and raced, nobody would care.
Nope.
The hype is what
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, the back hype is what everybody cares about, all the shit talking and all that stuff. And then when it's time to get it done over with, though, it's already a big deal, though. So, like I said, all that shit talking back in the trailer is what makes it fun. Yeah.
Right.
But there is drama
as
in every single aspect of racing.
Is it Oh, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. But as a driver, so I know when I was street racing back in the day, it was that when I street raced, there was the negotiation, right? And sometimes you had one of your boys do the negotiation. Sometimes you did the negotiation. And that was all a part of the game, right? And the thing about it was that when you got in the car and you pulled up and you were ready to do the burnout, you had to wipe all that right out, right? You just had to focus on driving the race car. Yeah. For you guys, I mean, but when I was street racing back in the day when I was a kid, I mean, you were racing for a few $100s, right? So, when you're racing for this kind of money, how do you get yourself like in the right frame of mind when it's time to get up there, stage the car, and let go of the button?
I guess I'll go first then. I mean, like I remember Chris Tootin talking about this one time a long time ago. He was saying that kind of like the difference in a class race and a grudge race. Kind of class race, sometimes you show up, you pay your entry fee. You might buy a tech card, $200, $150, $250, whatever it is, and then you go race. And if you lose, I mean, outside the cost of getting to the race and all that, you kind of lost your entry money. But you get in a big money grudge race, you get one shot at it, no do-overs. Yeah. One shot, one kill, and it's kind of you gotta, but you got, like you said, you got to wipe that out of your mind. Don't think about that. I've been in situations where I'm the underdog a lot of times. I remember pulling into the burnout box in the no time shootout once. As I'm rolling in, there's seems like 100 people on the starting line. Everybody's pointing the other way. They're pointing at Troy. I was running against Troy Perez or something. I'm rolling in the burnout box the first time I debuted Bowser, and everybody's pointing in the other lane. You kind of like you can't think about it. I don't let it get to me. I've been in enough situations like that, but it's kind of like. You look and you're like, dang, nobody's pointing at my car. You go in there, but I think he ended up like knocking the tires off or something. We got away, but anything can happen in a drag race. That's one thing for sure. I think that's kind of what makes Stevie Jackson very successful. He's from my hometown, kind of similar areas, and he come up through that way. So I think that's why he handles the pressure really well. And that's a very versatile crew as well. It's hard to stop, but they just know how to pressure bust pipes. And a lot of times you don't get to them. That's why you always see them in the winning circle because they're just well prepared. And I remember Phil Stewart said, you got to have the 7 Ps. Once you got the 7 Ps, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Flaco, what about you? How do you wipe it all out of your mind when you get to the
line?
I
I usually just I treat it like it'll come through one ear and come out the other one. All that shit talking that passed by, whatever. I never take anything too hard. So it'll be like, okay, just yeah, okay, whatever, okay, well, let's go. So usually once I'm in the staging lanes, and it doesn't really apply only to grudge racing. I apply it to every single racing that I do, whether it be no time or whether it be a $20,000 race, whatever it is, doesn't matter. When I'm in the staging lanes, I usually climb in the truck, car, whatever I'm in at that point, and sometimes I'll just close the door. By that time, my crew members, they know, just leave me alone. Just don't come talk to me. I'll mind my own business inside the vehicle, strap down whatever I need to do. Then when it's time to fire them up, I'm already cleared out of everything that needs to be, cleared out. So once I pull up into the water box, I just go ahead and do my normal routine and just go at it though. But I do sit, like I said, I do sit in the car or the truck for 15 minutes before, and just kind of clear my mind of whatever I need to do. And I've been in some situations that I have to make a decision right there and then. I know for a fact that if you're nervous or something, you would have messed up or gone red or just something stupid done. But like I said, I just try to treat everything, go into one ear, come out the other one though. Don't really affect it.
Yeah, I like to add a little bit to that. I kind of do a similar thing as far as like once I strap in there, people know how to mess with me. And I've been in there and we get ready to race, and if somebody order track down or something, everybody's like, why don't you get out the car? It's like a meditation time for me. Once I strap in there, I'm not getting back out. People say you can look. Like one guy told me, first time he ever met me, he just kind of looked at me. He said he could see it in my eyes, like how focused I was. That's one thing he remembered about me. First time he ever saw me was me just sitting in that driver's seat focused. I don't like to get unstrapped. Once I'm in there, I'm focused and do my job. Try to just do my job. Don't let nothing distract me. You know what I mean?
I hate getting out of the car.
I'm with you on that.
I hate it. I tell my guys, I'm like, dude, it takes me 30 minutes to get ready, though. I don't want to get out and come back in, though.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, I don't understand. I know people who've raced cars where they're like, God, it's so uncomfortable in here. I want to get out. Like, dude, then change the car. Like, I'm sorry, but every race car I've ever driven, I can gladly, and I mean, unless it's 100 degrees outside, I can sit in that thing and fall asleep. Like, I want to be comfortable in the seat. If you're not, it's not safe. It's not good. It's not conducive to driving when you really got to drive. Because let's face it, making a really good drag racing pass and going down the racetrack when everything goes right requires nothing but hitting your shift points and holding onto the wheel. It's when shit goes bad that you've got to be on your game. So being in the thing and having it be right is what you need. And I don't understand that. But do you believe that in reality, nobody getting their feelings hurt and all of those things, do you believe that having no time cars mixing with class cars, it really hurts the sport any?
I think you get to you get certain type of guys that are really true to it and the true no time thing. They feel that way. They feel very adamantly about that. I think it's getting to a point now. A lot of people talk, and people, gotta have a pretty good idea of where you think the car is running at. But on the contrary side to that, I've been in a situation where we're running no time shootouts, and a lot of times it's no tickets as well. So you running this shootout, only ticket you're gonna get is when you make your test pass. Once you start this shootout, that's it. Right. I actually had a buddy that got caught slipping recently in the same situation. They thought the car was running about a time. People make changes in the off season, or maybe they make changes this weekend. You never know what somebody did. So you can go in there thinking, okay, I saw that car last year, or I saw him a few months ago. I think I got him covered. I'm gonna back off of it a little bit, and that's when you get beat. So that kind of adds that element to it. And while I guess not mixing class and no time cars, I can see what people are saying about it. Me personally, I'm getting to a level now where it doesn't really bother me as much, because it's like, I feel like if it's a small block, no time shootout, I feel like I have my program together, and if somebody outruns me on that day in these conditions, it is what it is. I mean, a lot of times we're racing locally, and it's not on some fly paper track where you're going to go out there and lay a record time down. It might be summertime, 100 degrees, track temperatures 120 degrees,
Right.
It's a tuner's race. So I'm not really worried about this guy ran whatever time at his last class race or so much. Now, we in perfect conditions, and you know that car's capable of outrunning you. I can see that. You make a good pass beside him, somebody can judge you off of that. But it's not a black and white answer, I don't think. It just depends on the scenario. Like you said, it depends on what track you're at. If the conditions aren't well, or the temperature, or whatever it is outside, it might not make that much of a difference how fast the car is, because it's about who can get down the track, you know?
I think that
What's your...
you got
Go
grudge
ahead,
racing, you got grudge racing, and then you've got small block no time, which started in grudge racing, but it's kind of a class in itself. So that's kind of where you're not going to see a lot of back and forth two different cars, because a lot of the big time guys that have a small block program, Justin Curry, you know, Themo Diaz, the Moses brothers, them dudes got a no time small block car. They're not just going to run their X275 small block car. You're not going to see JD Campbell, you know, roll into the water box at a small block no time race at the same time he's running X. So some of that stuff, it kind of depends on one of the class, you know, one of the deals. I was going to get back to it earlier with Bowser. You know, at one time with the small block no time, it just stock bore space. So they're out running, you know, an LS based engine. They're running billet motors, billet heads, everything. Like, what do you do with that? You know, you got some real deal chassis cars. It's like, is that really front suspension? But at the same time, you got the mentality, I got my shit together. I ain't worried about it. Put them on the trailer, whether or not, you know, they like it or not.
Like you mentioned earlier with Ducks race, we showed up this past Ducks race with no oil pressure. We crunked the engine. We had parts shipped to Valdosta. We got the parts at the track, finished putting the motor together at the track, crunk up at the track, and we ended up running the finals against Raiden and getting outrun. But I was very pleased with that outing, to say all the problems we had some trans problems, electrical things, gremlins going on. My purge valve went out. I got to the start line one race, and my fuel pressure line and somehow got loose. I'm leaking fuel.
Spraying everywhere.
So there's a lot of things that were getting in the way, and we somehow made it to the finals there. But like I said, and back to the class in no time thing. I can remember a race we were down in Middle Georgia Motorsports Park, and there was an X275 turbo car. And we skipped the race. We were going to be the first two cars down the drag strip. Small block nitrous Bowser, X275 turbo car. I know getting outrun. I couldn't output them on the top side. But first two pairs down the track, that was the stipulation. Nobody can go before us. And it was just a gamble we took. But some people wouldn't have done that. And they said I was wrong for doing that because I ran a class car and I'm not true to the game. But I think anybody can grudge race. You can have two class races grudge race each other. It's just about who wants to put the money up and race each other, you know?
Of course.
You know, I like that attitude about it, because I think you're right. A grudge race is a thing. It's not a class. I never really thought about it that way when I've had this argument with people, but you're right? A grudge race is a race that you have set up. And it doesn't matter if it could be, you know, it could be two pro mods. It could be Stevie Fast and Steve Matuzik, who decide at the end of an NHRA race that if NHRA will let them make a run down the racetrack, they're going to each put $100,000 on this thing. Heads up, first to the end wins, right? That's a grudge race. It doesn't matter whether those guys have ever had a time or not. They have put money on them running each other based on negotiated terms between them. That is it. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter that one's on one tire, one's on another, or any of that. As long as they agree, then that's all that matters, right?
Grudge race at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly.
Whoever wins. Whoever wins it is a bragging right.
I agree.
Yep.
I've taken. I used to have a street Mustang. We grudge raced a motorcycle at the track. I mean, I was on. I took my radios off of that. I was on hard tires. He gave me like a bulb, and then he was on this really fast bike, like one of the fastest clutch bikes in the world. And I grudge raced with my Mustang. And we got lucky. It got away. It was at the finish line. It probably was inches. It was a good race. But I don't know. I've never seen anybody else do that. But we got to the track, couldn't find anybody to race. Somehow we ended up negotiating the race with a motorcycle. A grudge race.
That's awesome.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, DJ, we appreciate you being on the show today, dude. Seriously. Thank you so much for calling in. I am sure we'll get you on another episode at some point, because this was great. We have got another guest coming in here in a minute. So again, thank you so much. And good luck this year. I know it's been a weird year. Hopefully, Barrett and I see you out at the racetrack pretty soon.
They've been testing.
Sir, I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
They've been testing.
That's right. I'm doing a whole lot of testing. Every week seems like doing this coronavirus thing. But yes, I enjoyed it, man. You guys be easy. I hope to get back with you soon.
All right,
absolutely. You too. Thanks, brother.
See you.
Y'all have a good one.
You too. All right. Well, our next guest is going to be
We in for one.
calling in here in just a minute. Huh?
So we in for one now.
We in for.
If you
Should I let him do his own introduction?
Uh-oh.
I would say bet 5 that his dad's in or around the camera.
You think?
Oh yeah.
I love it. We'll see. He's going to call in. Did we tell Flaco who this was?
No.
Does he know?
No.
Oh, okay. Then I don't. Should we tell him ahead of time?
I mean, it don't.
All right. So here on Drag Racing Friends, our next guest, Troy Perez Jr. Now, Troy, we already were talking. What? We were already talking before you called in, and we said, and Barrett said that your dad was either going to be right there or nearby.
No, he's at his house right now.
Come on, I think Barrett was hoping to see him.
He needs a show of his own.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Dude, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it as we talk class racing versus no time and all that. You know, for the folks at home that, you know who you are but don't know how you got here, you know, give us a quickie rundown on how you got into the no time scene.
Basically, you know, just started racing, class racing, doing different things, and my business kind of took me to no time. Started, you know, helping a bunch of guys and with their cars and everything. And honestly, I got to this point where I was really stale in class racing. I had been running Ultra Street for 3 or 4 years. Wanted to kind of change classes, change to run Nitrous X for a race, and I don't know. I just got home and I was like, I don't really know what I want to do next. I'm going to go try no time. I want to take a bunch of weight out of my car and go see where that goes. You know, just do something totally different from what I had, you know, known my whole life. And basically started doing it on the racing side, you know, and really got to know a lot of people in that world and kind of evolved into what I am doing now, which is actually, you know, promoting and hosting no time events.
So here's the thing, like, you know, Barrett and I have, you know, a lot of experience in all different forms of drag racing, right? We've been around all different events. We love going to all these events. The interesting thing about you that makes you a little bit different than most of the people in the no time world is that you came from the class racing side and went to no time. And it seems like right now there are a bunch of guys that have done the opposite, right? That they're starting to go class racing after being street and grudge and no time racers for so long. Does that make you a little bit weird, you know, in that group or what?
Yeah. So it is really weird. So like when you come from, you know, class racing your whole life, and the people, you know, in the no time world, if they did know me from racing, most of the people like that were diehard grudge racing, no time racing, they didn't know who I was. But, you know, the majority of the people did know. And the first weakness, they go for your weakness first. So the first thing that they're going to tell you, like when I came no time racing, was everything was every time you either tried to set up a grudge race or you were trying to enter a shoot, I was, oh, you're a class racer. You know, so that's like when you're in school and you get bullied. You know, the first thing they're doing is they're going to tell you, oh, you're a class racer. So that's like getting picked on in school when you know, getting bullied. I think that the biggest thing going from class racing to no time is what draws people in is these shootouts formulate I would say they're classes, but they call them shootouts. They formulate with new rules and there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of attention that draws to it. And that's what brings the people into it. And they come into no time and things seem to, like, shootouts in no time seem to fizzle out twice as fast as what things do in class racing. As far as people taking things to the extreme and it running people out of the you know, the shootouts. So then what happens is you have all the guys in no time that start showing up to these events and they're all the way down now to, you know, 6 or 7 cars at every event. And now they see this new class in class racing. It's paying a bunch of money. You know, let's just use Pro 275, for example. You know, Donald starts Pro 275 and it's paying, you know, I don't even know what it was paying. What's it paying for, like, the latest race, 50,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's something crazy.
You know, so now you have all these, so you have these guys now that are running no time shootouts that are fully capable of being competitive in this other class, and now it's paying $50,000. It's like, oh, let me go do that now. You know, and the thing is now there's so much leniency with people crossing back and forth and stuff like that. And honestly, if they won't let them cross back and forth and do different things, you know, depending on the rules, these guys have, you know, drag racing now has so much money involved from 10 years ago to now. You know, these guys will just go buy a whole nother car to go run another class, you know, or another shootout or go no time racing or class racing.
Well, okay, so Flaco, you and I and Barrett were talking about this earlier. The key word that I think, you know, you just used is the hype, right, of a class, okay, or of a particular race. Flaco, you said that the hype was the big thing that got people fired up for a pair. Well, that hype is such an integral part of the no time and the grudge race scene. That intensity, though, I agree with you, Troy. Like if it starts to fizzle at all, it's like, boom, everybody forgets about it. You know, the attention span is this short and it goes that quickly. You know, Barrett, you've put on your own events. How do you, as a promoter, how do you look at that and go, how do we keep this relevant so everybody stays excited about it? Or how do you know when you have to cut bait and go to the next thing?
Car count's our biggest deal. You know, we're always evolving. We're always moving pieces around. You have your tried and true stuff. Small tire, big tire, true street, outlaw street, whatever you want to call it. So then there's these couple other deals where you want to try to move around or adjust some rules or maybe come out with a deal. For us, where our deal is we had, which is taken off, you know, like wildfire, but we had a bunch of 650-ish cars. I feel like if you have a hot rod or something and you're somewhat serious about it, you can spray enough to it that it's going to run a 650 in the 8th mile. And so, you know, we said, hey, let's try this. Let's put a 650 cap on it. No tickets, no time show, no nothing. Got to be a real street car. We're not talking like a bracket car. And let's try it, you know. And next thing you know, we have like 45 cars. You know, it pays it's $100 entry and put 500 on top. These guys are racing for as much as small tire operations. You know, you got to treat it like a business as a racer. If it costs you $10,000 a weekend and you're racing for $2,500, like Troy said, you're just going to sell it and buy something else because it's not efficient to race it. And that's why guys have changed. They've moved over to stuff. And you've got to try to keep those guys at bay because you need the class fillers, if you will, or whatever. The guys that just show up, go around or two and crack a cold one up and say, man, can't wait for the next one. Those guys what keeps the class going because you have some hard chargers like the McCain brothers. You got Troy and his dad, and whether he's behind the wheel of, you know, used to be Stonewall Jackson or whatever, these guys are there. They show up, they're ready to win, put it all on the line, do whatever they got to do. And you got to keep those guys at bay and interested and appease them. You know, you got to be, hey, what can I do type stuff.
So you guys, I know you've noticed this, and obviously it's become such a big deal, the small block nitrous side of things, right? Is the small block nitrous side, has it gotten more popular because people wanted something that was maybe more affordable? Or is it also because with the, you know, guys saying, hey, you can only run this small block with a plate or a jet or whatever in it, and some of these series where they limit it, you know, anybody can get down the racetrack if you've got a progressive system in this. I mean, nowadays it's, and I'm not taking anything away from tuners. Trust me, I tune cars, but you and I know that with a progressive system, getting a nitrous car down the racetrack is so much easier now than it ever was. It doesn't mean that you can get down fast, but it means you'll get down the racetrack, and you got to get it down if you're going to make a pass. So is that why the small block nitrous has become so much more popular? What do you think, Flaco?
Well, I mean, to be honest, though, I don't think to be competitive in the small block nitrous class, I mean, it ain't going to be cheap. I mean, I don't run any nitrous, so I don't know exactly what something would be. But I've got a pretty good idea. And I know for a fact that it ain't going to be cheap, and your chassis is not going to be just something that you just put together yourself on a, you know, I mean, you have to have a really good chassis to begin with to be competitive. I mean, and you have to have a good, a good, healthy small block because you're only allowed, I think, let's just say, one kit or whatever. So that one kit has to be a good enough kit to where you can spray, the house down. So it ain't going to be cheap. These motors are not going to cost you 15,000. I mean, like it did 10, 15 years ago. I mean, you're right now, you're going to spend 60 or so on a good motor. I mean, so you have to start off with a real good real good platform, though, if you want to be competitive. I mean, and it goes to any class though as well. It just goes through all the classes. If you want to build something cheap, well, you're not going to get very far, in my opinion, nowadays. I mean, you can't just go out there with a junkyard LS and expect.
What do you think, Troy? Yeah, exactly.
So, like,
what do you think, Troy?
Small block nitrous in a nutshell. Basically, the last 3 years is like, so you had all these guys mostly that ran, like I said, Nitrous X, Ultra Street, cars that fit these classes that were becoming uncompetitive. So, the classes evolving. The classes just say it's going 450s. These guys are going, 5.0s. They're no longer competitive for these classes. These cars get sit down. They sit in their garage. They're doing nothing. Small block nitrous evolves now. Now these guys have a place. Let's take the weight out of our cars and let's go run this thing. They take the weight out. The gap for them gets smaller, as far as their car now with the weight out goes a couple tenths faster. So now these guys that have these cars that are just sitting around doing nothing, now they have a place to race. So that's why when no clock small block first started, 2-3 years ago, you had races that were averaging, anywhere from 16 to 32 cars showing up at these events because there's just a surge of all these cars that weren't competitive. They're like, hey, let me put good tires on. Let me take 400 pounds of weight out and everything else. And it works. It does really good. And these guys are able to be a little bit more competitive than they were. And like I said, the progression is the problem. So now you fast forward 2 years, okay? A guy takes a Mustang. He puts a lightweight battery, he puts some fiberglass doors. He does a couple things. And let's just say he gets this thing down to, 2,500 pounds. Well, that's fine. But now that you have top tier guys really getting involved in this thing, that last little bit of from 2,500 and either taking out another 200 or 300 pounds from that number, now you're talking another $30,000 or $40,000 with carbon, titanium, different things, and that's really when that stuff starts coming into play with these guys. That's when you start to see these dwindling car counts, like what Barrett was talking about when the money becomes involved.
Well, and you bring up as we're getting our nitrous outlet commercial going right there. Here's one thing too that is interesting that you've alluded to here, Troy. So, because I grew up as a class racer, right? And for a long, long time, I'm not afraid to admit it, I was the guy that thought most of the, street and grudge guys from way back in the day, in the 90s and what have you, that they didn't have anywhere near the knowledge, right? They threw a ton of nitrous at stuff, or they, put a tiny pulley on a blower or whatever, but they really didn't have the knowledge. It was a lot of trial and error and blowing stuff up and somehow making shit work. Mm-hmm. But the class racers were really smart guys, right? They were used to eking out the last little bit in order to be able to compete because they had such stringent rules. So if you take a class racer who's decided he's not having fun or doesn't want to, spend the money to go the ET that he's been going because the prize money isn't there, or like you said, the car is outdated and just not as competitive, I feel like in some instances, if some of those class racers that are really, really sharp cats decide to go no time racing, where they can make their car ultra lightweight and pull all the weight out of it and use every chassis tuning trick and all that they've got, that they really could clean house on some of these no time events. And I think that some of them have surprised some of the old guard with that. Don't you think?
That's what's happened. Go ahead, Barrett. Go ahead.
Oh, I'd say I kind of watched sort of what you were talking to firsthand. we was at Piedmont Dragway for this little grudge race, and they had a $3,000 to win small block nitrous class. And you'd think, that ain't going to bring nobody. It's going to have, they had like 9 cars, right? There were 2 cars on the property that everyone came to see. It was Troy in the truck and Ricky and Cannibal. And you would have thought that was, you would have thought it was like a funny car match race or something. I mean, that's the race people came to see. And I'm like, hey guys, they're going to race, whatever, first shakedown. I'm going to go live. And next thing you know, I'm like, God bless America. Like there are people betting thousands in the live feed box, like this is what it's about. This is what makes this stuff interesting. This is what people want to do. They want to see. They were supposed to race like the weekend before, I think, Troy or something like that. It didn't happen. And next thing you know, you drive all the way to Piedmont, North Carolina to race this guy. And it didn't work out, but it's all right. We got another shot at it, but you learned, right? I mean, you learned probably need to put the front end of this thing in the dirt.
That's the type of stuff though that like really makes racing good. And like if we had more, I'm not going to take any credit for it. I'm going to say if we had more people like, Ricky Fox that wanted to race like that. So it all boiled down to like we had wanted to race, and you get on Facebook and we start talking back and forth and talking smack, and like to us, it doesn't matter if that race would have paid $1,000. We didn't have anything to do, and the stuff is sitting there in the trailer. I'm like, let's load up and just go. You're talking about I traveled 10 hours. I believe his ride is like 5 or 6 hours. So I traveled 10 hours to get to a track I'd never stepped foot on. I walked the track. I looked at the track. It's a short shutdown. Even with a small block car, lightweight small block car, you still had to use the parachute. You drive that far, you look at the track, you make a decision. It was not like cool that day by any means. And you race straight off the trailer for money that you're pulling out of your own pocket. And you go down through there, and the race is so close that you can't even tell from a video or picture who won. That was really some badass racing. I took that one on the chin, but like I would like to, if I got beat, I'd want to get beat that way. I race really conservative and try to make it down the track. If you can make it down the track and gauge things and try to get down every time and race the racetrack, you're going to win the majority of your races rather than trying to be the hero every time. So if I go out there and I get beat by an inch one time and I win nine of the other times, I'm going to come out on top. It's all about, round wins and trying to race long-term 5-10 years and turn on as many win lights as you can. It's not always about just winning that one race. You want to try to go and do as best as you can, and be there at the end at everything you do in drag racing, if that's what you're into.
Consistency usually wins a lot of times, though. Not just being because you're the fastest guy is there means the fastest guy is going to win, though. I've always said it myself, though. Consistency will win more races than being faster.
I mean, you know how it feels, Flaco, when you let go of the tranny brake and it annihilates the tires, and you watch that guy wheelie next to you and have to pedal it, and you're like, if I would have just went down, I would have got paid. So
that is the one thing I do hate.
Went red.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd rather get beat by an inch than spin the tires. Definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hey Flaco, when I see Barrett the next time, I'm going to smack him in the nuts for you because he brought up that red light again, dude. Don't worry. He'll be wearing that onesie. I'll just backhand him in the nads.
In all fairness, I got off light. What's Kyle's daughter's name?
Haley. Oh, she had about three $500 bets, I think.
Yeah, she had $5,000 worth of bets. I locked in with her for $40 in the semis.
Yeah.
And she was like, I got $40 on my dad. I was like, bet. And then everybody tried to jump her. And then next thing you know, she's like, I want 1,000. Like they do burnout. She's like, I want 1,000. And people are like, say what? Yeah. So I'm going to give her $40.
You can't blame her. She's betting on her dad. So she's, like I said, that was an awesome race. I mean, like I said, my buddy, Skinny Man told me, it's like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, I mean,
we can all laugh about it. It was a great time. I mean, Troy's been the same place before. He didn't work out in Piedmont, and he's still homies. With Ricky and them.
Yeah, it happens.
Barrett, I didn't see this the whole time because your beard covered. Look at that shirt you got on, an RM shirt. I can't believe this. His beard was covering it the whole time.
Yeah. Dude, no, it's funny because DJ had a RM hat on. Yeah, you had a hat on.
So
RM hat,
I don't know.
So it was all good.
Yeah, we talked to DJ before you, Troy.
Yeah. All right, well, boys, it is time to wrap the show up. We really appreciate it. I mean, seriously, Flaco, thank you for being on here, and Troy, the ambitious scientist. I love that.
I don't even know who put that on there.
Yeah,
I love it, and I really we appreciate it because this is this is such a contentious subject, right? You know, the no time and the grudge versus the class racers, and I feel like they are mingling more and more all the time. And yet, God, some of the most heated discussions you see at the drag strip are over a guy that, you know, has a time slip for his car and people know what it ran. So, getting to talk to you guys about it is great. And I love that, like Barrett said, at the end of the day, you know, we're all hanging out, we're all buddies, we're all friends hanging out at the drag strip and being happy to be here. So at some point this year, I am hoping that we are all at the racetrack together. We can hoist a drink and I don't know, maybe bet some money and do some racing. We'll see what happens.
Battle at the Bay.
That's it.
Definitely.
May 16th, Bradenton Motorsports Park. Come on down. We'll see you there.
Nice. All right, boys. Thank you so much for being on Drag Racing Friends. We appreciate, and all you fans out there that are watching, on behalf of my partner in crime here, my friend from another mother, Mr. Barrett Green, we appreciate it. We are out of here.